Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl Alicia here, and guys, I just watched Forever on Netflix. Let's talk about it. So right off the bat, before we even jump in, Forever has been renewed for season 2. Season 2, I want to see my girl Keisha and my boy Justin link up just for a little like summer fling, even if they don't get back, officially together, but like maybe they just link up, catch up a little bit. Keisha talks about her time at Howard and how she's really starting to find herself and what she wants to do, who she wants to be. Justin, meanwhile, maybe he is getting further along in his pursuit of being a producer. That's, forecasting for season 2, what I hope to see. But let's talk about season 1 first. So if you have not watched Forever on Netflix and you want to, but you're not quite sure what it's about, Forever is basically a coming of age story featuring Black love, a very diverse cast. It is set at a high school, well, a couple of high schools, but it's set during the time period of high school. We have Justin, who goes to this elite private academy, and he is playing basketball. His parents want him to use basketball and their connections because he does come from a very wealthy family. His parents wants him to use all of that to his advantage and apply to these big name schools for college. Keisha, on the other hand, she is being raised by a single mom who works 2 jobs. Single mom who works 2 jobs. Anyway, Keisha's being raised by a single mom who is doing her best to make sure that she and Keisha not only survive but start to thrive a little bit. But she also has grandfather around. She's got her cousin. Her dad will pop in from time to time. She does have a village around her. Keisha, meanwhile, is relying on track to get her through and into a full ride to Howard, because Howard is where she wants to go. And she's at the top of her class academically. She kind of has her life mapped out and planned out because she has to, in a way, because her mother does not make as much as Justin's parents. So she needs that full ride scholarship to be able to afford college. So the premise is just kind of following them along in their last year of high school before they both go on to college or go on to their endeavors, basically until they graduate. And this will be a spoiler review, so if you haven't seen it, I'm giving you enough to where you should now desire to want to go watch it, and then you can come back and we can talk about it in the comments. Okay, so now that it's just everybody who either doesn't care about being spoiled or has seen the show, let's get into the spoilers. So I want to talk about Justin and Keisha individually, and then I want to talk about them together. So we'll start with Justin first. So Justin individually, I actually really did like him. Justin had my heart, quite honestly. I could relate to how he felt lost in a sense, because first he was following his parents' path for him, and then when he was beginning to make Keisha his whole world, he was beginning to follow her path that she had kind of set for himself. And I did, even though I understood Justin's struggles, because he does have ADHD, so that made it harder for him to focus in school and do well in school. And he loved music and he could concentrate and really put his focus towards that, making beats, realizing he wants to be a producer, all those things. But when it came to regular school work, he just wasn't as engaged, and that was a multitude of factors. We had that scene where the teacher was letting him know, hey, you can take, your extra 10-15 minutes that you were allowed because of your ADHD. And you could just see kind of the embarrassment almost on Justin's face when the teacher was saying, I really think, you need to take those minutes because you're not doing well in this class. A little bit of embarrassment, a little bit of frustration when he just kind of hands him that test paper and he walks out. That pulled at my heartstrings. I could understand that. He has this desire for music, but he knows his parents. He doesn't want to disappoint his parents, and both he and Keisha shared that trait where they did not want to disappoint their parents because they saw, the struggles in Keisha's case, the struggles that her mom was going through, carrying, the weight of raising a child all by herself. And on Justin's side, the hurdles that his parents had overcome to get them to be in a position where he could have the opportunity to where his parents could pay, that tuition. And his parents were pushing him for early decision. His parents were pushing him to take basketball seriously. And when he wasn't taking basketball seriously, I could understand his parents when they said, maybe we should back up a little bit. Which, side note, side tangent, Justin's parents, and really the parents on both sides of our protagonists, our main characters, that this was an excellent representation of teenage parents, quite honestly. Like, I know Justin's mom was doing a lot. She was doing a lot, but when you think about the fact that she's raising two boys, okay, two black boys in LA, really in America. Let's keep it up. I felt for her. I felt her anxiousness. I felt her worry, especially in that scene where Justin is driving late at night and that cop car gets behind him, and it does look like that cop car is following him up until, that stop sign, and they end up going around him. The fear that I felt in that scene, and the breath of relief, just watching Justin navigate his life and realizing, slowly coming to terms with what he wants to do, who he wants to be in his life, because he did struggle in school, and he went to a wealthy private academy, surrounded by, I think it was LA, I'm not actually too sure, but surrounded by a predominantly white population. And then the school that his mom went to, the school that he applied to and got in at Northwestern, that was going to be a PWI. So he just kind of saw that he was continuing on this path that he did not want to be on, but it took him forever to be able to voice that to his parents. And while that was frustrating to watch, that was very real. And the show did a really good job of fleshing out both characters, but fleshing out, the silent struggles that the kids went through to realize, okay, I have the weight of my parents' expectations on me, but I know if I don't speak up now, I'm not going to be happy with this path that they chose. Even though for Justin, I wish he would have compromised, because he does end up deferring Northwestern for a year. I wish that he would have compromised with his parents and went to Northwestern and pursued a major in music production, or, whatever they call it in college. But he could have pursued a degree in music, and it could have opened up a lot more doors. It might have gotten him a leg up, because really that's all his parents wanted for their children, just a leg up. And I agreed with the parents. He should have just gone to college and gotten his degree, especially from a college like Northwestern. Even if he decided, okay, Northwestern is not for me, let me go somewhere else. As long as he had pursued a degree in music, that could have opened up doors that might be closed right now, and he might have to take the long way around, because he does instead work with the local producer in their hometown on Keisha's side of town, which, nothing is wrong with that. But I feel like now Justin is starting from the ground up, whereas if he had gone to college, maybe he could have networked and made some connections that would have given him a higher starting point. All in all, I'm glad that Justin was able to find himself during the later half of the season, because first half of the season he was honest, almost brutally so, almost awkwardly so. But then you would start seeing how he would kind of, because he was lost and didn't know what he wanted to do, like he realized that the path that his parents laid out for him was not the one that he wanted to do, but he did not know what other path to take. So he started making Keisha his whole world. In that scene, their breakup scene, like their final breakup scene, because one thing about it, these kids were gonna break up and make up. But their final breakup scene, when Justin realizes he has to let her go so that he can find himself, because that was real. And I truly believe if Justin had never broken up with Keisha, he would have never given himself the space to really dive deep and do some introspection and figure out, okay, what is it that I truly want? Because while he did love Keisha, his love for Keisha was starting to become more than his love for himself, and that's where the toxicity comes in at. So transitioning from Justin, I loved Keisha. First of all, let's shout out the hair. Okay, let's shout out the hair, because the hair for every member of the cast did not miss. Okay, I don't know who they had on set, but whoever it was said, look, you are not about to be out in front of those cameras looking crazy. Sit down, let me take care of you, then we can go film your scenes, because Keisha's hairstyles ate. And I love that they had a little scene with her cousin in the braiding shop. But Keisha, of course, she was driven, she was ambitious. I love seeing that too. But also she was very much so just a girl. My girl was just a girl, but she was also just a teenager, okay? And unfortunately, she had to learn the hard way that you can't trust everybody with the most sacred parts of yourself. So Keisha had started at this other elite academy. She had a full scholarship there, but she ended up having to leave because she ended up being embroiled in a sex scandal, because a video of her and Chris, I think it was Christian, but her and Chris, a video of them started circulating around the school. And so her mom notices that something is wrong, but Keisha doesn't tell her what. And so the mom agrees to let Keisha transfer to this other school, but she doesn't have a scholarship to this other school. So her mom ends up having to take on more work so that she can afford to let Keisha stay at this other school that will enhance her track and keep her on track to get that track scholarship to Howard. I love the fact that Keisha also felt very real. Like, was she frustrating to watch at times? Yes, especially when she committed to making her mom believe that nothing was wrong, to the point where she went to prom with Chris. Oh, guys, I nearly threw my remote at the TV when I saw that, because at first, she did say, I'm not going to prom with you, because her and Justin have started officially, dating. They were officially boyfriend, girlfriend. She let Chris know, look, we can't go to prom together. But then I felt like the show did a really good job of showing just how heavy Keisha's mom's expectations were on her, because every time Keisha would start to work up the nerve to tell her mom that, what really happened between her and Christian, her mom would say something that would just kind of put her back in a space of, I can't tell her because it will crush her. That's what she kept saying, and it's what we kept seeing. Every time she would get close, her mom would say something like, you going to this prom would show those kids not only that they could not break you, but that you were able to keep your man throughout this whole thing. Or, I'm so proud of you, and I'm so happy that you were able to be the woman that I raised you to be, and all these other things. And you could just see it like weigh Keisha down to the point where she had to do something detrimental to herself and Justin by going to the prom with Christian. She looked so uncomfortable. And the show did such a good job of showing us that she was uncomfortable, but also showing that nobody else around her really noticed that something was seriously wrong. And when Keisha finally does tell her mom what really happened, Keisha's mom reacts the way that Keisha feared she would. She can't handle it. She immediately goes to work, doesn't want to talk about it, and she gives Keisha the silent treatment for a little bit. And with Keisha finally being pushed to tell her mom, I do appreciate Justin's mom for saying something, because even though Keisha's mom did react negatively at first, she was able to come back. At first, she got into mama bear mode where she felt like somebody had to pay, and she still wasn't really listening to Keisha and how Keisha wanted to handle the situation. But, you know, after they kind of talk and argue about that for a little bit, and then they both go their separate ways, Keisha ends up staying with her cousin for a night. And then I think like during that same night, Keisha's mom comes and they talk for a little bit, and, you know, her mom admits that it hurt her when she realized, I did not give you a safe space to let me know that this was going on. And I'm sorry that I did not immediately, you know, listen to you and immediately comfort you, and that I could have handled the situation better. And you can just see that that weight was lifted off of Keisha's shoulders. So I really appreciated that. At first, you know, Justin's mom was in the mindset of, well, how do I protect my own son? I understand that. But when she had more time to think about it, you know, she could see, okay, well, who's protecting Keisha? Because that is something that's too heavy for a child to bear. Because I'm sorry, if you're in high school, you are still a child. And you should not be carrying something so heavy like that. So I love how three-dimensional every character felt. I love the love story between Keisha and Justin, even though it was toxic. We can talk about it now. Well, before we get into the toxicity, I do want to talk about Keisha's dad for a little bit, because he was an absentee father. He was pursuing his dreams of baseball. He was traveling all over the world, but he made sure to come to most of Keisha's milestone moments, like when she does get accepted into Harvard and they do have a party for her, he is there. Even though I really did not like how he was talking to Justin, because I could understand, you know, he wants to talk to Justin because that is his daughter, and he just wants to make sure that he's not playing, you know, that Justin wasn't playing about his daughter. But I felt like he dragged it. I felt like he was doing absolutely too much, because he made it so awkward. You know, he was killing the vibe. He was killing the vibe. And it just made me feel for Justin in that moment, because you saw how he was so awkward, and like he low-key was getting embarrassed, and everybody else was just getting uncomfortable. The cousins, honestly, you know, the cousins and her best friend and Justin's best friend, shout out to them, because Justin's friend, that was a ride or die for Justin. And I love that Justin had somebody that he could really talk to and really rely on. On Keisha's side, I love that her bestie was a literal ride or die. Like when they break up, the second to last time they break up, Justin and Keisha, they fast forward to the summer, and Keisha's friend, I can't remember her name, but she's like, hey, I have an aunt that has a little like house, condo, beachfront property thing at Martha's Vineyard, and you tell me that Justin vacations there every summer. Let's go see. Let's go visit my aunt, and we can use that as an excuse to run into Justin. That's a ride or die bestie. And the way they had each other, like, you know, she ends up finding out she doesn't get into Sanford. Keisha immediately goes and hangs out with her and comforts her, even though Justin was being a little clingy. But it was a first love thing, so yeah, you know. But speaking of their relationship, let's get into it. So their relationship, I feel like at the heart of their relationship, they had genuine love for each other, because Justin made sure, like, hey, I like you for you. When she thought that he had seen the video, he hadn't seen the video. He just wanted to make sure that she wasn't doing anything that she wasn't comfortable with just because he had bought her something expensive. And I love that, you know, he tried to say that, and then he went back and he doubled down on that. Like, no, I just want to make sure that you were, whatever you were wanting to get into, you were wanting that because you were comfortable with me and not because you felt like you owed me something. And on the flip side, when Keisha was saying, well, I just want to do that to show you how much I like you, guys, that resonated so, because so many of us girls at that age can relate to that, where you think that's the only way to prove how much you like somebody is to get physical. And so I really like that they made this show and showed us, really, no, there are guys out there like Justin who they appreciate if you decide to get physical, but they're never gonna push you to do that. You know, Justin just liked hanging out with her, quite honestly. He liked their conversations. They both liked how easy it was to talk to each other. Even when they reconnect, you know, that first episode at the New Year's Eve party, they both say it's so easy to talk to you. The banter was bantering. And throughout their whole relationship, with the breakups and the makeups, you could tell just that genuine love and care for each other was always there. Even when they were getting a little toxic, you know, even when Keisha wasn't sure how to navigate, you know, wanting her relationship with Justin and balancing her mother's expectations and making sure that her mom didn't catch on to what really happened at her old school. And on Justin's side, you know, trying to navigate being there for Keisha, but also standing up for himself, because, you know, he didn't want to continue he was okay with being a secret for so long, but as he shouldn't be, you know, he wasn't okay with the fact that she was dating him, but then getting a little too close to Christian still. Their relationship, it was toxic, it was up and down, but it was a good representation of how whirlwind a first love or a high school romance can feel, and how it feels like you're not gonna find somebody better than each other at that moment. And I love that Keisha's mom said that. You know, she was like, you know, I know you feel like Justin is the best that you're gonna find, but he was a great guy, but he's not the only great guy. It was good. I was just a little frustrated with some of their choices, even though I completely understood their choices in the context of the story, but dang. But Christian, I was so glad when Keisha slapped him, because how dare you try to pop back up into my life when you are the reason my life was ruined to begin with. Because yes, we find out that it was Keisha who initially sent the video to Christian, but it doesn't matter who sent it to who. Christian still betrayed her trust by sending it to somebody else. She trusted him with a very intimate part of herself, and he completely blew it. And then when we finally find out why he sent that video around, oh, I was so mad. But I feel like I'm glad he said that, because that gave Keisha the final push to be like, it's not continuing to entertain you just for the sake of my mom is not worth it. Overall, I quite enjoyed the series. I'm so glad we're getting season 2. I can't wait to see what season 2, you know, entails. Maybe season 2, y'all let me know what y'all think season 2 is gonna have down in the comments. But I should have known that this series was gonna be good, because it's based on the books by Judy Blume, and the soundtrack, a masterpiece. Everyone involved in this project, I said, oh yeah, this is about to be a hit. This is about to be a hit. I could have binged it, but I didn't want it to end, so I spaced it out over a couple of days. But I'll probably binge season 2. So let me know in the comments what y'all thought of this series. Did you like it? Did Keisha frustrate you at times with the whole prom situation? Did Justin frustrate you at times with how he kept telling Keisha to tell her mom, but then he couldn't take his own advice? Let me know. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really, really appreciate it, and I will see y'all in my next one. Bye, guys.